Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Thrive Live. Today we have Jason and Ray. Ray, thanks for being with us.
Oh, it's great to be here. Great to be here. Thanks.
Not with a client right now.
Not with a client, that's going to probably be later this afternoon.
Always, always.
Yes, we will be with clients later. We look forward to it.
That's
Yes,
right.
absolutely. So today we're talking about just general HR, what's the state of HR these days, things that are going on, hot topics. Jason, do you want to start us off?
Well, it's very interesting. Hiring is still happening. I know we've talked about that a lot over the last year, hiring being really hot and then hiring being a little less hot. But hiring is still going on, even though there are companies that are hiring less folks and there are companies that are actively doing reductions, but there are still a number of organizations that are out there that are hiring pretty um, quickly and hiring for a lot of positions. I was just on the Snowflake website the other day, and Snowflake's the software company out in the Bay Area, and they're hiring for 1,200 open positions.
Wow.
So, and they're in the software space, which, according to pundits and everyone else that's writing about the economy right now, that software is getting hammered in terms of stock and valuations and where they are with revenue. But there's a number of companies out there that are doing well.
Excellent.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the other part that's really interesting is, definitely there's a slowdown in the economy, uh, and and because of the slowdown in the economy, I think a lot of organizations are starting to look at their financials, their profitability, or lack of profitability. They're looking at, how many people did we hire in the last 12 months, and you know, you know, did we go a little bit, over the top in hiring, and are we, do we have the right people in place to be successful? And so there's a lot of, from some of the HR leaders that we are talking to, just a lot of you know looking at the organizational structures, looking at headcount, looking at budget run rates and expense run rates, and there's going to be adjustments. I mean, there has to be adjustments because a lot of these organizations, uh, especially the ones that aren't profitable, that keep losing money, and they just give issue more stock, or find other ways to continue to fund their operation. That's just not a long term viable solution
Right.
in a more difficult market. So there are lots of signs out there that we're seeing, that there may be a bit of a slowdown happening, and a little bit of a contraction of employment.
But with a slowdown, there's always things that happen that still move business forward. So one of the things that we're seeing is a slight tick up in mergers and acquisitions, especially for companies that may be additive to an organization in terms of technical talent or a product piece that they don't have, and especially a company that's potentially sized right, not too big, and the price is something that the company believes is the right price to pay for the target. So we're seeing an uptick in those, and we're still seeing a lot of work around comp. Companies still want to be positioned really well for their comp against competitors. They want to make sure that they are positioned well with the market. And so that work is continuing. We still get asked for compensation work all the time, and that's not slowing down at all. That continues to move at a really fast pace because people want to be, like I said, companies want to be well positioned against their competition.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We had talked
and
before about how folks are sort of changing industries a lot more recently as well. I know we talked about oil and gas, how, a lot of folks are moving out of oil and gas. My husband being one, he just left the oil and gas industry to join a different industry. And, after his whole career being oil and gas. And I was going to ask, what industries are you seeing that are really that people are moving more toward or honing their skills toward? Is it technology for the most part?
Well, I think it's the what we're seeing is it's more about the organization and their mission.
Hmm.
So I think a lot of especially the earlier in career employees, they want to grow their career, but they also want to grow their career with an organization that's got the right kind of a mission. It's not just about profitability. I mean, uh, I think what we're seeing is that employees love life sciences and medical devices because those are organizations that are trying to make a profit, but at the same time are also everybody's going in every day and trying to save lives, right?
Yeah.
And make people's lives better. So we're seeing a lot of movement into organizations that have a mission and a purpose. That's not just making money, and so that's a big driver when potential candidates look at organizations and look at potential employers. They're asking those kind of questions at the very beginning, or doing a lot of research around it.
Mhm.
I think people are double clicking on what's important to them. They're thinking about, do I join some or do I attempt to look for a unicorn software company where potentially I'm going to make a lot of money if they go IPO, and am I going to go that route, and how many of those are there, and is that really going to further me as a person, and is it really going to help the environment, is it going to make the world a better place? And I
Mhm.
think people are, as I said, double clicking on that and realizing, well, maybe that's not really what I want to do. Maybe I want to go work for life sciences. Maybe I want to go work in the renewable space. Maybe I want to go work in healthcare. There's other things that I have a greater mission in life, and I can accomplish that by working in a different company. So there's definitely a thinking that's changing in terms of what people are looking for. And you just can't argue with the fact that there's a lot of, I think, polarizing situations that are out there right now regarding some industries, oil and gas, being one of them, anything fossil fuel oriented.
Mhm.
So that's definitely a space that's really hot right now. People are not interested in going into that space.
Yeah.
And they worry that that space won't have a future in the upcoming, years and decades. So
Right.
that's something that people are really putting into their calculus of, I don't think I really want to be associated with that. And that's difficult for, people who are in that industry to recruit and find people and make those commitments, or make those long-term drilling commitments of your business is being viewed as something that will be out of business soon. And then people don't want to take part in it. It's kind of a perfect storm of issues.
So what do we say to companies who are, let's stick with oil and gas. What do we say to companies like that who really do need the workforce? What do they do to sort of make themselves more attractive to keep people? Because we still need oil and gas, right?
Yeah,
We still drive
yeah,
cars. We still use
yeah,
electricity. We
yeah,
still, you know, use plastics, and
yeah.
all of those things are.
Do we?
Do we?
No, I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, you guys are chuckling about it, but there's a large segment of our population that says we don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
definitely do. And the other industries that you spoke about, health technologies, um, eh, those companies use byproducts of oil and gas. I mean, you're not going to
yeah,
get a syringe made out of
yeah,
wood.
yeah.
Well,
No,
then,
no, no. I think you're right. I think you're right. I mean, I think that organizations that are in, you know, fossil fuels, that are in, supporting fossil fuels, or I mean, I think that what we think, I mean, they've got to really think about, okay, what's going to make uh, their organization, the right place to work for individuals. And a lot of those organizations are also, investing in alternative fuels. They're investing in ways to to generate power with solar,
Right.
and other technologies, right? So I think it's more about uh, you know being honest with your employees and being honest with your shareholders that we oil and gas is a big part of our business, but we're also seeing kind of what the tea leaves are saying, and how do we support the transition away from oil and gas into more renewables, and what's our part in that, and how do they pivot, because you know at the end of the day, we're going to still need electricity, and how you get that electricity is going to be a lot of different ways. Part of it may be renewables, part of it may be uh, you know cleaner products like natural gas,
Mhm.
and some of it still may be the coal. So
Well,
it's that
yeah.
combination, right, of and messaging that to folks.
Well, it's a parallel process, which we forget about. So nothing is linear. So it's parallel. If you look at Chevron, and Chevron, obviously known as a fossil fuels company, and I was being cheeky when I said Dewey, but I was taking the contrarian point of view that there are people that are saying we don't, and
Yeah.
so which is a pretty tough space to come from. But we need to operate in a parallel, like I said, parallel path, because if you look at Chevron, and they're obviously a fossil fuels maker, and that's a big part of their business. But the thing that people don't realize, unless you spend some time with people that work at Chevron and what Chevron does, Chevron is actually more of a water company, believe it or not, than an
Mhm.
oil company. They find so much water across the globe, from drilling, and basically their exploration has led to so many discoveries of new water, either above ground, below ground, whatever, wherever you find water or however you get water, across the world, they've discovered it. So while you're potentially working for a fossil fuel company, you're also working for one of the biggest water companies in the world. And that goes back to Ray's point about positioning. So just because you're working in the fossil fuel space doesn't necessarily mean that the company that you're working for is not doing things that are beneficial to the greater good. And I think companies need to do a better job of marketing that. I don't think you'll
Right.
ever see that really in Chevron's marketing statements, but that's a huge piece of what they do.
That actually probably comes out a little bit more in their community relations side of things, right? You would think.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
for sure.
I think my concern as well, or my question also would be, let's say, Jennifer's going to go work at or looking at an oil and gas company as a future employer. Right? So Jennifer's hello.
We're here. We can hear
Yeah,
you.
go ahead. We hear you.
Oh, I lost my camera there for a second. So Jennifer's concerned that she doesn't want to work for, big bad oil and gas, but she does like the fact that they're positioning themselves in solar and renewables and that and LNG, all of that. But the position that they need her for is not one of those renewables. How do those companies keep the people in those positions, the big bad positions, right? while filling those roles because they're still necessary. I
Yeah,
think that
and yeah.
messaging really needs
No,
to get
I think in that kind of a situation, it's really becomes a responsibility of the company
mhm,
to to identify a good, clear career path, and
mhm,
employees are demanding that. So employees are looking for you know helping them develop skills, new abilities, so that they can grow. Uh, that employees are expecting to understand. Okay, here are the different kinds of roles you can move to after your initial role at Chevron, and you can move into you know the drilling side of the business, production. You could move into pipelines. You can move
Mhm.
operations. And the whole renewables part of it too. So there are, it's really about kind of showing folks, these are the places you can go depending on what you really want to do from a career perspective. And the companies that are doing that and doing that well are the ones that have higher employee engagement, are retaining talent, and are really doing a good job of you know of keeping their jobs filled. Because if you don't do a good job there, then it's going to be a revolving door.
Mhm.
Jennifer will step in, we'll spend 18 months, and we'll find a new gig,
Yeah,
somewhere else.
yeah.
If you're not focused on Jennifer's development in her career.
Right.
Look, and I don't think you can stay locked into the fact that we're just going to hire from the oil and gas industry. You've got to be able to step outside of your comfort zone and hire people from out of oil and gas. And I know
Yeah.
oil and gas people are really reticent about that. Like, that person doesn't know upstream, that person doesn't know downstream. Even
Mhm.
for people who are in the oil and gas business, there's this, competition about who knows what. And, you can't really go upstream, you can't really go downstream. But I think oil and gas needs to get more comfortable with the fact that, hey, pull out of a software company, hey, pull out of a manufacturing organization. People are smart and they'll figure it out. And you want to make sure that you give those opportunities, because you just can't be a closed door institution anymore in the way people work and the way we hire people and the lack of talent that's out there. So for me, it's you've got to take some of something off the board and be available to look at people that don't have the experience that perhaps you want, but have good experience other places.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. One of the best recruiters I've ever worked with basically said
Oh, thank you.
to me, you know, I want to talk to folks, and go in with the idea of what possible role could this person fill,
Mhm.
not with they don't meet the specifications of the job, so we're going to just you know
Throw them
cast
out
them to
there.
the side.
And that
So
person is a unicorn, because no recruiters really operate like that, which to
you
my
know,
point is
yeah,
the problem. Yeah.
that's the challenge. I mean, you've got to look at folks as and really try to see, okay, where can they fit in the organization,
Mhm.
where they could shine, they could be do really really well. And we try to look at, when we do recruiting, we're really helping change people's lives. We're
Mhm.
helping them with new opportunities, new jobs, making more money. And that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do for folks. But yeah, that's the tough part. I mean, it's we've also got clients who won't talk to anybody unless they meet these box requirements, and it's like
Mhm.
you got to think outside the box sometimes, or else we'll just keep looking for the same box, for 6 months or 9 months.
That
So
reminds me of one
yeah.
of those, like, those show my husband and I watch these shows together where people are relocating to other countries, and the husband has an idea of what he wants in a house and the wife has an idea of what she wants in the house, and he and I sit there and yell at the television like, "Oh my gosh, get over it. It's a beautiful place. What is wrong with you?" So
Oh yeah.
that sort of like harkens me back to that, where I'm
Yeah.
like, there's a point where you're like, okay, get over yourself. This is what
Yeah.
is available to you. Let's make it work.
Exactly. No, it's
Well, and
almost like
yeah.
you know, I mean, if we wish we could have those kind of conversations sometimes with our clients, but we can't, because they won't be our clients anymore. But
Correct. Yeah.
it's like the person has the right skills. They live 10 minutes away from your office, and you want them
Mhm.
to be in your office every day. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a good point, but the issue is that when the labor market tightens up, which it will start to tighten up even more,
Yeah.
what happens is that cookie cutter approach comes back into vogue. And unless you check all of the boxes, and once there's some additional talent back available, and companies will be like, wow, now I don't have to hire to select, now I can hire to deselect. And so the less of those boxes that you fit, the tougher it becomes. So
Yeah.
it's always a pendulum swing. So for those folks, that are looking for things, it will become a little bit tougher, not to be, negative, but it's just to be realistic about when you start to look, that those boxes will be more important to be checked for organizations and what they're hiring for.
So what I'm hearing you say, Jason, is if you don't tick all the boxes, now's your time to go look for a job.
Probably. I would say that. And I would say, even if you don't tick the boxes, send in your resume, because there's been a lot of discussion about that in terms of am I allowed to say men anymore? I'm not really sure. But men typically send in their resumes even though they don't tick all the boxes, and women don't send in their resumes if they don't tick off all the boxes. So there's been sort of this gender bias in that. I would say if you're looking for a job and you think that you can do the job, send in your resume regardless of what you think. However, also make sure that, like you said, if you don't tick all the boxes, start polishing up that resume to get that out, those experiences, and start sending in some resumes if you really want to get out of somewhere. And then don't be shy about putting your paper in. Something will appeal to somebody about what you're doing.
Speaking of resumes, what tips do you have? I was reading recently that cover letters are out. Cover letters are like they've gone to the wayside, right? No cover letters anymore.
That's correct.
I haven't, I don't even have a resume put together because I've been at what I do for so long. Like, I don't even, if somebody asked me for a resume, I'd be like, oh, let me go through my calendar and see what I've got,
You want to hear a really sad story about cover letters? So way back when, before really we had all the things that we have on the internet right now, and the web, there used to be these huge career fairs, and you would go to it and you would go meet with employers that actually set up a booth, and people would bring an actual paper resume and they would hand it to you at these booths. And like, they weren't like rinky dink. Like, we used to do one called West Tech in Silicon Valley, and there would be 2,000 employers, literally 2,000 employers sitting in a conference center or a convention center, and they would be walking around. And so all these people would introduce you, and they would have their cover letter and they would have their resume be stapled. They'd give it to you. So after 3 days, you'd have thousands of resumes that you collected, and you would go and you would start the process of looking at the resumes. And this was 20 years ago, and probably even more than that. And you would go, and the first thing that you would do is you pulled the resumes out of the bin is you would take the cover letter off, you would rip it off, and you would throw it into the recycling. You wouldn't even look at it. You wouldn't even spend the 5 minutes on it. And how long it took a person to anguish over this cover letter. And I know that sounds really horrible, but that was 25 years ago. We didn't look at cover letters. And so, cover letters, definitely out. No bueno on cover letters.
Yeah. And, and the other thing that I think that we would recommend is, for folks that are out there, look at what's going on in your organization. If you're starting to see, folks running around with not a whole lot to do, if you're starting to see, lots of questions, being asked, so what did you do the last 3 months, and what are you focused on for the next 6 months? If you're you know, if you're starting to get a weird vibe from your boss, you know, if you're starting to see HR folks attend your team meetings virtually, just those could be signs of a potential reduction in force.
Right.
Yeah, if
And
somebody says, "Now, what do you do again?" That's always
yeah,
a bad sign. Yeah,
yeah.
but one
So
of the things you should look
yeah,
out for is when leaders get quiet. When
yeah,
you're in the organization and you work for the CFO or you work for the CHRO or whoever you work for, and things start to get really quiet, you don't hear anything. When bad things start to happen in an organization, leaders get very, very quiet. And so when you sense that quiet starting to happen, something's going to come down the pike. And
yeah,
that's always a very good tip that you should be ready for something to happen.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
prepare yourself. I mean, we always prepare yourself, polish up your resume, not the cover letter.
Not the cover
Uh,
letter.
you know,
That's your
return.
grocery. That's your new grocery list.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, that's
cover
right.
letter that you've printed out. That
Yeah,
is,
turn it
turn it
around.
over and
Yeah,
write milk,
yeah,
gluten-free
yeah.
bread,
All the good stuff.
celery.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
things.
All
yeah,
right. Can I say one thing about the cover letter? Because I don't want people to get mad at me. The one thing about the cover letter, if you're targeting somebody specifically, if you're targeting some CHRO, some CEO, some CFO, and there's a specific person that you're targeting and you're writing a letter or you're sending them a resume directly, I would, yes, write a personal letter about why you should be considered for that job. If there's some personal connection that you want to make,
Right.
otherwise, I wouldn't bother.
yep,
My
yep.
dad said to give you a call because he thought I'd be great for the job and you owe him money. So when do I start?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Where can I start? Uh, but no, and also, all those, recruiter calls that you've been ignoring, that may be time to return a few of those phone calls or emails.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
you
if
just
there's
never
one
know.
from 6 months ago that you didn't call on, you probably might want to forget about that one.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the
Yeah, yeah,
recent ones, yeah, give a call
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
But be prepared. The last thing anybody wants to be is surprised, and we've all been surprised from time to
Mhm.
time. It's better when you're prepared, and you can kind of you know you can be in charge of your own kind of destiny to a certain degree as much as you
Mhm.
can. But yeah, definitely let us know. We'd love to help somebody that wants to kind of jump into a job search.
Yeah, you guys have some positions to fill.
We do.
Yes, and if you want to just call us and cry and complain, we're good with listening to that too. So
That's
Phil
we're
right.
needs
That's
a
right.
available.
shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
He like I have a teenage daughter in the house, so we have to give him shoulders to cry on.
Yes, as they what is it? What does the Mandalorian say? This is the way with
This is
teenagers.
the way.
This is the way.
Yes, yes, yes. So, all right, folks. Well, go out, be productive today, polish those resumes, write your grocery list, and we'll see you guys
Well,
next.
and for the kid that was really happy that the Astros won and was crying because he was so happy, all I have to say is there was a poor Seattle Mariners fan, little boy, who was unhappy crying. So let's remember him too.
You guys know I worked the game last night, right? I worked for Spanish television last night. And so I had all the cameras that I could watch, and I was feeding the cameras back to the studio, basically. And I saw that little boy, and I'm on communication with the studio, and I'm like, you guys need to keep an eye on this kid. I'm telling you, keep an eye on this kid. So I'm just watching this poor little boy just start to cry, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And then when the Astros won, because I'm non-biased, when the Astros won, his life changed. Like his entire life changed. It was amazing. But then after the game, while all the Astros and all the organization are out celebrating, in the Mariners dugout was one lowly player sitting quietly by himself, downtrodden. And
Yeah.
it was very telling of how things go in life, where you've got all these people over here celebrating for a reason, and then there's the one guy alone. And, and I mean, it was really sad. But the more the Astros win, the more work I get. So yay!
Hey, I was,
There you
I was at the 1988 World Series and I was at the game when Kirk Gibson hit the home run out against the A's, who was a vastly better team. And as soon as he did that, the Dodgers had won because they just took all the life out of them. Like, oh my God, we cannot win. Like, we're just messed up. We're gonna win, and then this guy cranks out a home run. We're destined to lose. So
Yeah.
sometimes it just feels that way. So we'll see. But good luck to both teams, and go Astros.
Luck to all the teams.
That's right.
By the way,
That's
can
right.
I tell you what I worked this past weekend when I was in Dallas, Jason? I did not get you any swag because there was no swag to be had.
See, that's just wrong.
Ray, I worked the World Tag Championships.
The World Tag Championship. I've seen that on ESPN Ocho or something.
I wanted a jersey, but I said get me a tag championship jersey. I want to be one of the.
I produced several hours, days and days worth of tag championships this weekend, which will be cut into little bits and pieces and put all over ESPN.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. It's very cool. And that yet another byproduct of COVID, I believe, is these individual sports, these little sports popping up.
Yeah.
Well, get the guy, get the guy who founded the tag, whatever it is.
He was there.
Get it. Ask him to come on the show so we can talk to him about.
Oh my gosh!
Tag.
Oh my gosh! Yes, we'll do a tag.
Ask him to talk about tag because I think that's very fascinating.
It was so fun. So it's got a great history. He and his brother used to play tag, and they're basically like, hey, let's start a league.
Yeah.
You call the tag guy, and I'll call the Tiddlywinks people.
Yeah. No. We gotta do the.
I'm calling him.
The guy that does.
Call him. Get it set up. Yeah, I'm sure people would love to hear that.
Championships. Pro cornhole is the other.
Now those guys are athletes. Now, those guys are athletes. Those guys are the most well-conditioned athletes you'll ever see.
Right.
These guys are crazy. These tag people, it's a mix between parkour, and so they all work out at these parkour gyms.
Right, well,
you should.
Let's not tip off. Let's not tip off too much to the viewing audience for when we do the show. Gotta save something. Say something.
That's
the show that broke my heart the most, that was canceled from Houston during COVID, was the World Breakdancing Championships. I was on that show and I was so excited. I had a whole wardrobe picked out for the week. I was going in character. I was ready, right? And then they're like, oh, the show's been canceled and moved. And I'm like, no.
Okay, well, your mission is the tag guy, so
definitely the tag guy.
All
right, that sounds great.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll get both of them on. So
excellent.
All right, guys. Have a good day.
All right, bye.
Thanks,
Beth. Next week, everybody. Thanks a lot. We'll have the tag guy hopefully next week.
There you go.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.